Hi Cliff fans and welcome to another one of my 5 minute Cliff album reviews, and today I'm going to review Cliff Richard's 50th anniversary album With the Shadows Reunited. Yeah, this was released in 2009 to coincide with Cliff and the Shadows 50 years in show business, and it was also to promote the up and coming final tour that same year. And yeah, it's mostly new recordings of all Cliff and the Shadows classics from about 1958 to 1966, I think. And I think I was most excited for this album to hear the new tracks, and the new tracks were "Come On Everybody," the Eddie Cochran classic, "Sea Cruise," which Cliff previously recorded. He performed in the event live at Wembley Stadium back in 1989 as part of the Old Boy set. But he recorded it here with the Shadows, which is an absolute cracker version, and they recorded "Singing the Blues," which was a big hit for Tommy Steele back in the 50s, Guy Mitchell back in the 50s. It was a hit for Dave Edmunds in the 70s with Powerhouse. And Cliff and the Shadows version is based on that Dave Edmunds version. They released it as a single, but it didn't really do well. I think it only got to number 40 in the British singles chart, which is unfortunate because I was expecting it to be a bigger hit, but it only reached number 40. But yeah, this album was the first time Cliff and the Shadows recorded together since 1968, which they recorded their final album together, established 1958. So this album was the first recordings of Cliff and the Shadows together in over 40 years. So like it was fantastic to see them back together again. But as I say, recorded together, you can't really say that, because I think a lot of Cliff and the Shadows fans will know already that they all recorded in different studios. Apparently, Cliff recorded his vocals and backing vocals in Barry Gibb's Miami studio. Hank Marvin recorded in his Nivram studio in Perth, and Bruce and Brian recorded in London. So they weren't together recording this, which is unfortunate, but it doesn't take away from the album. The album is absolutely fantastic. It got to number 4 in the British Albums Chart, which was absolutely fantastic as well. Yeah, I'll go through some of the tracks. "I Could Easily Fall in Love" opens the album, which is one of my favourite songs they recorded back in the 60s. Followed by "The Young Ones," which is the big classic of Cliff and the Shadows. I think it's one of the most famous Cliff and the Shadows tracks. Followed by "Move It," and this is the first recording of Cliff and the Shadows playing "Move It" together. Really, well, they recorded a couple of live versions, but this is the first known Cliff and the Shadows recording together "Move It," and it includes the second verse, which Ian Samuel sent to Cliff in the 90s, which Cliff and Hank recorded together. Follows "Living Doll," the first number 1 for Cliff and the Shadows. "Bachelor Boy" follows, another classic. "Nine Times Out of 10," which includes an extra solo and an extra verse, which is absolutely fantastic. Followed by the classic Eddie Cochran song "Come On Everybody," which is a highlight of this album for me. Follows "Traveling Light," which is completely different to the original. They went for it's kind of a harmony version, and I absolutely love this new version of "Traveling Light." Follows a great rocker, "It'll Be Me." Follows "In the Country," which was another pantomime classic from the 60s. Follows another one of my favourite Cliff and the Shadows tracks from the 60s, "On the Beach," and that follows my absolute favourite Cliff and the Shadows track from the 60s, "The Next Time," which is absolutely beautiful. "Please Don't Tease" follows, which was a number 1 back in 1960. The new version sounds absolutely fantastic. Follows "Sea Cruise," which is really cool as well. To hear Cliff and the Shadows perform that. Follows "Willie and the Hand Jive," which they do in the kind of same style as they did back in 1978 at the Thank You Very Much reunion concert at the Palladium. Follows "Summer Holiday," another massive hit for Cliff back in Cliff and the Shadows back in the 60s, and it was everybody knows it was written by Bruce Welch and Brian Bennett, so it's probably their biggest hit as well. Follows Do You Want to Dance, which absolutely sounds fantastic. Don't Talk to Him, it's another one written by Cliff and Bruce Welch, absolutely fantastic. A big surprise on this is Time Drags By, which I think it was a top 10 hit, but it wasn't as big, it's not as memorable as some of the other big hits on this album. So it was great to have Time Drags By on this re-recorded. Gee Whiz Is You, it sounds absolutely fantastic as well. Lucky Lips, brilliant. And the album closes with Singing the Blues, which, as I say, was a single but only reached number 40, unfortunately, because it's very important. Like, I was expecting when they released that as a single, it was going to be definitely a top 10 hit. I was remembering Free as a Bird for the Beatles, which was a huge number one because it was their first single in over 30 years, I think. This was Cliff and the Shadows' first single in over 40 years, and yeah, it only reached number 40, unfortunately. Anyway, I'm definitely giving this album a 10 out of 10. I absolutely love this album. I can't get enough of this album. I absolutely love it. The sound is just incredible, and everybody remembers the tour as well was absolutely incredible. So I'd like to get your opinions in the section below on how you would rate Cliff and the Shadows Reunited from 2009.